Okay, so we stopped at this slide in the last lecture. We were discussing the classification matrix, evaluation matrix, and recall was the last thing that we discussed. So coming on to the F beta score. F beta score is another classification evaluation metric. We have already seen accuracy, recall, precision, right? And now F beta score. So F beta score, it is a weighted metric that considers both the precision and recall. If you see the formula, uh, just by using precision and recall, manipulating them along with the beta square value, we are getting the value of F beta. And this F beta means that beta can have different numbers. Beta can be 1.5, more than 1. So there are three classes here. If it is equal to 1, then it is called F beta score. And if you want to have have recall more weightage, then you can make beta more than 1. So if you let's say that you substitute value of 2 here, so it will be 1 plus 2 square, it will be 5. So 5p into r divided by 4p plus r. So similarly, if you put the value of, let's say, 0.5 for beta, then it will be 1 plus zero point 0.5 square. It is equal to 1.25 p into r divided by similarly 0.25 p plus r. And in that way, you are giving uh, more weightage to precision. So this can be mathematically solved on your end. You can check it by putting multiple values that how is this affecting each other. But generally we take the value of beta zero point 0.5 for giving precision, for giving the more importance to precision, and beta equal to 2. So it can be any number. It can be 0 0.4, it can be 0 0.7, and even for beta greater than 1, it can be 1.5 or 2.5 or 3. But generally 0 0.5 and 2 are used in practice. So F1 score is again derived from F beta score only. When you put the value of beta as 1, it will be 2 PR upon P plus R. So that's what you can see here. In this F1 score, you are giving equal weightage to precision and recall. The ratio of weightage is same. So let's talk about now macro and weighted precision. Let's see that what does these things mean. The precision computed with respect to positives is called micro precision. So we earlier saw the precision here. This is called micro precision. The basic precision is called micro precision. The formula is TP upon TP plus FP. But now what does this weighted something means, right? So let's say it is weighted precision, weighted recall. Let's see for precision what does this mean. But in many systems, precision is computed with respect to each class, and then macro unweighted mean and weighted mean precision is computed. So what do you mean by this? If you are calculating precision for positive, you are getting the formula as this. If you are calculating the precision for negative, you are getting the value of Tn upon Tn plus Fn. Macro means that you are taking the average of positive and negative, versus weighted precision means you are also taking into account the number of items in the positive class and number of classes in the number of candidates in the negative class. So N1 and N2 will be affecting, let's say overall 60% items were positive. So 0.6 will be N1 and zero point 0.4 will be N2. So that way we can say that weighted precision is kind of better, because in this we are also taking care of the, let's say if there is an unbalanced data set, right? If there is imbalance problem, then this weighted precision will be better to get the answer rather than macro precision. So here N1 is the number of support samples for positive class and N2 as negative class samples. So this is how your micro, macro and weighted precision is calculated. And similarly, you can do it for recall also. The same thing is true for recall. Earlier we saw the formula of TP upon TP plus Fn, that is micro recall. But then if you want to get the detailed answers, you can calculate this recall positive and recall negative. So this is how you will get it. This is the formula, and then macro and weighted recall will be working in the same way earlier we have discussed. So always go for the weighted recall or weighted precision, because it also take care of the imbalanced data set. So now same thing is true for F1 score. I will not discuss this, but exactly same thing has been mentioned here. You can calculate the values for micro, macro, and weighted F1 score. So this is a mistake here. It is weighted F1 score. I will do it. I will do the correction. So let's say that you have this example, you have to calculate all the values, accuracy, precision of each class, macro precision, weighted precision, all of these things have to be calculated for this confusion matrix. There are three classes: cat, fish, and hen. Actual value uh, having cat and predicted cat were 4, but actually it was cat, and one time it was calculated as a fish, or maybe one time it was predicted as a hen. So for the cat class, 66% accuracy was there. So you can calculate according to the numbers here. uh, you can calculate it on your end, but I will directly show you the answers and I will show how to calculate. So accuracy is correct predictions upon total predictions. Correct predictions are 4 plus 2 plus 6, right? So these diagonal matrix values, these diagonal values are the correct predictions, because you are saying cat or a fish or a hen, and on these diagonal values all the accurate values are there. So 4 plus 2 plus 6 in the numerator, and all the predictions, all 4 plus 6 plus 3 plus 1 plus 2 plus 0, everyone. So adding everything, it is 25. So 12 by 25 is 48%. So accuracy is 48%. Now if you want to calculate the precision of cat, correct cat predictions are 4 divided by total cat predictions are 4 plus 6 plus 3. So total cat predictions are, I mean, when you're doing the prediction, you are going to check this row, right? So even if you are doing the wrong prediction, but you are saying something as a cat, so it will be counted for 4 plus 6 plus 3. That will be the denominator. 4 by 13 is 0.31. Similarly, precision for fish. Fish is called twice, but fish 1 plus 2 plus 0, 3 will be in the denominator, 0.66. Similarly for hen. Now, macro precision, you can simply add all the precisions, 0.31 plus 0.66 plus 0.66 divided by 3. You are directly doing the average in the macro precision. But when you want to do the weighted precision, you have to multiply it with the total number of actual cats, total number of actual hens, total number of actual fish. So if you get a 0.31 value of precision cat, but total number of actual cats are 6, so it will be 6 into 0.31. Similarly, fish are actually total 10, so 10 into 0.66 and plus 9 into 0.66. So the weighted precision is 0.58, the macro precision is 0.54, and that's how you calculate these values. Now, similarly, you can do it for the recall. All the procedure is same. You can check these values on your end and you can solve it. So now let's come to the sensitivity and specificity. Sensitivity and specificity. Now sensitivity, so these two terms were given by American biostatistician Jacob. This Jacob man, he made these terms and he used it for the medical diagnosis. Sensitivity is called recall. We have already seen recall, and we are also saying that it is true positive rate. Specificity is true negative rate, and it means that it measures the proportion of negatives that are correctly identified. So when you are saying a negative value as a negative, it is true negative, right? So true negative rate is specificity and true positive rate is sensitivity. In medical diagnosis, both are important, as sensitivity tells on how many sick patients are correctly identified as sick, and specificity tells at how many healthy patients are identified as healthy. So you have to uh, deal with both of them, and let's see. Now, if a test sensitivity is 97% and specificity is 92%, its rate of false negatives is 3% and its rate of false positives is 8%. Is this statement clear? So we said that sensitivity is true positive rate. So true positive rate is 97%, right? It means that if true positive is 97, then false negative is 3%. Similarly, we were saying that true negative rate was the proportion of negatives that were correctly identified. It means that false positives were 8% in this case because true negative were 92. So this statement is self-explanatory when you read the definitions. Do you have any doubt till now? We have seen F1 score, we have seen F beta score, we have seen a numerical, and now we are discussing sensitivity and specificity. If you have any doubt, you can ask right now. Then I will move ahead.
It's clear, sir.
Okay. So moving ahead, this is the last thing that we want to discuss. Then we will move on to next topic, ROC curve. So ROC curve full form is receiver operator characteristic, and we will understand this in 2 minutes that what does this mean. So it is an evaluation metric for binary classification problems. ROC curve can be made for binary classification problem. Okay. So it is a probability curve that plots the true positive rate against the false positive rate. So uh, so false positive rate is 1 minus specificity at the various threshold values, and the area under the curve, it is the measure of the ability of a classifier to distinguish between the classes and is used as a summary of the ROC curve. So AUC ROC curve, uh, it is AUC is used in combination with the ROC, and ROC curve, it has to plot the TPR versus FPR, and previously we have just seen TPR, right? We saw the TPR sensitivity, and TNR specificity was TNR. So if you solve it, 1 minus TNR is equal to FPR. So TPR and FPR we are going to plot. Now when AUC is equal to 1, then the classifier is able to perfectly distinguish between all the positive and negative classes correctly. And if AUC is 0, the classifier would be predicting all negatives as positive and positive and negative. So let's see and understand it through a curve. I will come to this, but before that, I want to make the curve here and I want to discuss something with you. 1 second, I'm connecting my pen tablet. Okay. So what does this mean? When AUC is equal to 1, you are going to perfectly distinguish between the positive and negative classes. So it's simple. When we are plotting TPR and FPR, so this will be TPR on the y-axis and it will be FPR on the x-axis. FPR is equal to 1 minus specificity. And what does this specificity mean? It means true negative rate. So what is true negative rate? Can anyone tell me the formula? Anji batao. What is true negative rate formula? देखो ट्रू पॉजिटिव रेट का क्या फॉर्मूला था, वहां से ट्रू नेगेटिव का बनाते हैं. So this is TPR, right? True positive rate. TPR is TP upon TP plus FN. So this one is TP upon TP plus FN, right? And this 1 minus specificity. So 1 minus specificity is true negative rate. So true negative rate means true negative upon true negative plus false positive. Now if you solve this thing, it will be equal to false positive upon Tn plus Fp. Am I right? If you solve this thing, So this will come in the numerator, Tn plus Fp minus Tn, Tn कट जाएगा, divided by Tn plus Fp. So Fp upon Tn plus Fp is Fpr. This is false positive rate. So when you are plotting the curve in this, and you get a plot of all one, I mean, generally it looks something like this. Let's say that this is 0.5. The area under the curve will be 0.5 in this case. That it will look like this, because if you highlight this thing, this is 50%, right? This is 50%. So if you plot something like this, that it is coming up to like this, right? So if my curve goes like this, so it is covering so much area. So it is, let's say, nearly 0.95 out of 100. So it is 0.95, right? And 95% area is being covered. So in this case, what's being done is, if we are saying that this is TPR, this is FPR. Now, if you see at this point, your TPR is equal to 1 and your FPR is equal to 1. What does this thing mean when both are 1? कि आप 100% false positive rate को judge कर पा रहे हो, and you are also getting the TPR value is 100%, that you are also calculating that this is true positive. ठीक है, इसको हम आगे जाके थोड़ा सा एग्जांपल से समझते हैं हो क्या रहा है यहाँ पे. So I wanted to discuss this kind of a thing, but I wanted to give you a picture के करना क्या था. So we have in this ROC curve a higher x-axis value. So generally it is being told that in a ROC curve, a higher x-axis value indicates a higher value of higher number of false positives than the true negatives. Okay, so if you have a higher value on x-axis, so let's say that you are at this point, so it means that you have higher number of false positives, because obviously you are on the higher scale of the false positive than the true negatives. While a higher y value indicates that you are having a higher number of true positives. Obviously, if TP is more, your FN will be low. So the choice of the threshold depends on the ability to balance between the false positive and false negative. And now we are going to discuss about that, which one point, I mean, what point shows what, right? So what does this A mean? What does this B mean? We will be discussing all these things. So point A is where the sensitivity is the highest and specificity the lowest. So because my FPR is equal to 1 minus specificity, right? So if my FPR is 1, so if my FPR is 1 at this point, then your specificity will be 0. At A, can we say that your sensitivity is equal to 1, but your specificity is equal to 0? Can we say this? Because FPR is highest, your specificity will be 0. So that's what is being told. At point A, sensitivity is highest and specificity is lowest. And previously, I was discussing that if TPR is equal to 1, FPR is 0. But this FPR being 0 means that your specificity is equal to 1. Specificity is equal to 1. FPR equal to 0 means specificity equal to 1. So yeah, now you must be getting idea that now how to decode this. So for B, my sensitivity is 1, but specificity maybe it is 0.2. Okay, specificity nearly 0.2, sensitivity nearly 1. So depending upon these things, we can say that point B has the same sensitivity as point A. It has a higher specificity. Higher means, I mean, initially it was 0 for point A, but now it is higher. 0.2 is higher than 0. So meaning the number of incorrectly negative classes is lower compared to the previous threshold. So now obviously if your specificity is higher compared to the previous one, then this thing will be there. So this indicates that this threshold is better than the previous one. So out of A and B, if you are asked a question that which one is better, this one is better. Why? Because at this point our specificity was 0, and specificity being the rate of true negative rate. आप ट्रू नेगेटिव बता ही नहीं पा रहे, अब आप आइडेंटिफाई ही नहीं कर पा रहे कि ये चीज ये नेगेटिव क्लास है. If you are not able to do that thing, you are not doing any good job. So it means that A वाला is poor than B. B वाला कुछ हद तक ट्रू नेगेटिव बता पा रहा है, and it is also giving full accuracy in true positive. Now similarly between C and D, which one will be better? Can you tell me quickly? हाँ जी, जल्दी से बताओ. Which one is better out of C and D using this same logic? In terms of sensitivity, C is better. ठीक है? And in specificity, it is same. So obviously between C and D, C will be better. Any confusion here between C and D? Now, because my C is having higher sensitivity compared to D and having same amount of specificity, we will go for C. And between E and D, which one is better? Which with this E point, which one is better? E and D.
E.
E, right? Because your specificity is 1, FPR is 0, it means specificity is highest, and you are also performing decent in sensitivity. So between E and D, your E is better. So this kind of analysis you should be able to do. If you're given a question like this, you should be able to identify that out of these A, B, C, D, E, which one is the best. So pair wise, we have identified that between A and B, B is better. Between C and D, C is better. Between D and D, E is better. So out of all of these, if I say out of all of these A, B, C, D, E, which one is the best one? ओवरऑल कौन सा बेस्ट है बताओ. देखो, ए बी में से बी बेटर था, सी डी में से सी बेटर था, एंड डी ई में से ई बेटर था. सो इन तीनों में से अब कौन सा बेस्ट होगा बी सी ई में से, अगर हम इन तीनों को कंपेयर करें? ऑब्वियसली सी, because you are performing decent in sensitivity as well as specificity. कोई भी आपका बहुत कम नहीं है. C and E are close because E में अगर आपका specificity 1 है, but you are having compared to C, you are having less amount of sensitivity. So between C and E, I would go with C. ठीक है जी. B अच्छा नहीं होगा इन तीनों में से, बिकॉज B वाले में आप बहुत पुअर परफॉर्म कर रहे हो इन स्पेसिफिसिटी, because you are having a very high FPR, and high FPR means that 1 minus FPR will be your specificity, and specificity will be low. It will be nearly 0.1 or 0.2. It is very low. पर C में अगर हम tentatively देखें तो क्या है, my specificity is also nearly 0.6. ठीक है, and my sensitivity, this was specificity, and my sensitivity is also nearly 0.8. ठीक है जी. If you have any doubt, you can ask now. Should we move ahead?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we are going to start a classification model. We will be discussing a new classification model. We have already seen logistic regression that that dealt with the binary classification, but now we will be looking with naive Bayes classifier. I'm switching the screen. Yeah, so we are going to start the naive Bayes classifier today, and let's see that how much can we cover in the next 20 minutes. So naive Bayes classifier, it is a probabilistic classifier. It uses Bayes theorem and naive assumption. So there are two things that is required to understand naive Bayes classifier. First, you need to understand that it is Bayes theorem, which is the main thing here, and the second thing is the naive assumption. So these two things combined helps us to generate this naive Bayes classifier. So let's understand first what is Bayes theorem. You must be knowing this already, but I will still revise. So A given B is equal to P of A into B given A upon P over PB, right? So here P A given B is called the posterior probability. So this one is my posterior probability, and PA is probability. It is called the prior probability. So this is prior probability. B given A is my likelihood. So prior probability multiplied by likelihood divide by evidence. So this is my evidence. Generally, this is not used in programming because P over B is kind of, it does not help much. So we will be looking into this, that why it does not help. But for now, the formula is P A given B equal to PA into P B given A upon PB, where P A over B is my posterior probability. This is posterior equal to prior probability multiplied by likelihood divided by evidence. So for the machine learning task, A is my target variable, right? The Y column here. So it is A, and B is my all the X variables, the number of features. Let's say there are K features. So that is my B. Therefore, we find that P y given x equal to P of yi into P x given yi upon Px. So now, because my this here my yi is belonging to capital Y, my output variable, right? So all the classes, whichever are they, they will be my y, and based on that we will be looking into the values. Let's see how does this help us. So since Px is a constant with respect to different values of yi, hence it can be ignored. So that's what I was saying. uh, so my probability of x, it is constant with respect to yi. Now obviously we all know that when we do this calculation, in this my yi is the class and px are the variables, all the variables in the input class. So we will not be using the denominator, but now we can say that my p of y given x is directly proportional to p of y into p of x given y. So this is prior probability and this is the likelihood. We will be using this thing. So this is my updated equation that we will be focusing on to understand and implement the naive Bayes classifier. So according to the naive assumption, the probability of each feature in the input is given. uh, it is conditionally independent of each other. So this is a assumption. This is very important to remember. This is not true in real world datasets, but still this naive Bayes classifier helps us when we know that my input features are independent of each other. So let's say that you are implementing naive Bayes classifier on a, you after the PCA transformation has been done. There you know that all the features are independent of each other. They have a very low correlation with each other. So it means that they're independent. So then your naive-Bayes assumption, can be true. Otherwise, naive-Bayes classifier has a drawback also. We will be coming to that later in this slide. But then let's see how does this naive-Bayes assumption helps us. So therefore, we can say that P of y on the right hand side, P of yi, and this product of all the xj upon yi. This is the combination that gives me the probability, posterior probability. So the final predicted variable y star for a given x is thus computed as argmax P of y into product probability of xj up over yi. So this is my predicted final label. So you have to use this formula when we are going to solve. Let's see with an example. So there will be example coming soon. So let's talk about the training phase of naive-Bayes. So in that training phase, we first compute, we have to calculate the prior probability, we have to calculate. So it can be calculated by using this formula. Here we can see that number of training examples labeled as yi over total training examples. So for each class you will be calculating your prior probability. Let's say there are 6 out of 10 uh, for the class 1 and 4 out of 10 for class 0. So there we can say that probability of class 1 will be 0.6, and your probability of class 0 will be 0.4. This will be the prior probability if my total samples are 6 by 10 for positive and 4 by 10 for negative. So this is how my P1 and P2 P0 will look like. So this is the prior probability, and likelihood also you have to calculate. We will look into that now, that how to calculate it. So I hope that you have understood that how to get this prior probability. It is very easy. This is the easiest part in this. Uh, when you calculate the likelihood, you will be following this thing. The likelihood of each unique class, of each unique value of each feature given each class label is computed as number of training examples for which the feature xj has value c and labeled as yi. So uh, let's see how it works. So you can say that it is in the numerator n of xj, where xj is equal to c, uh, and it should be labeled as yi. It should be divided by total number of training examples as yi. So we will be looking into it, that how to, I mean, what does this mean? We will be looking into it in 1 or 2 slides. And similarly for testing also, you have to do simply, you have to use this formula and put all the values. You have to do the argmax, where py will be the probability, it is the prior probability of each class, and then p of xj over yi will be calculated as the product. So let's see this example. It is a bit blurry, but I will quickly tell what it is. So this is outlook. This is the outlook. This is temperature column. This is humidity column. This is windy, and this is play golf. So the problem is binary. We have to decide that we want to play golf or not. You have to take the decision. Mathematically, you have to solve everything and take the decision that what will be the. I mean, you have to train on this model, and you have to tell that if given the conditions, let's say that hypothetically you will be given the value of outlook, temperature, humidity, and windy. So these 4 variables will be given to you, and you have to tell that yes or no, you have to play the golf or not. So in the outlook you can see clearly that there are multiple classes. Outlook has rainy, overcast, sunny, okay, and temperature is hot, mild, cool. Humidity is high, normal, only these two. Windy is true or false, right? So windy has 2 classes, humidity has 2 classes, 3 classes for temperature, 3 classes for outlook. So given these combinations, you have to decide that you have to play golf or not. So consider the following training set that classify the output variable play golf yes or no depending on the weather conditions. So using the naive-Bayes classifier, you have to classify whether on a rainy, one second, I will highlight. So yeah, condition is given rainy outlook, cool temperature, high humidity, and windy is true. So given these four conditions R, C, H, T, you have to tell that you should play golf or not. Answer should be in yes or no. But you have to mathematically solve using this numerical. So when you solve, you have to first get the prior probabilities. Prior probability of a yes versus no is 9 by 14 and 5 by 14. So there are nine yes values in play golf. If you count here, you will see that no is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 no's are there and all other 9 are yes. So 9 by 14 and 5 by 14 are the prior probabilities here. So if you calculate now quickly the likelihood values, so first you look for the prior probability for this likelihood. We will make the tables for the outlook. If you focus on outlook, there are 2 yes and 3 no for sunny. If you look into the table, just for sunny, there are 3 sunny here, this one 4, this one 5, and correspondingly you have different values. You have 2 yes, 1 no, here 1 yes and 1 no. So there are 3 yes and 2 no's that has been put here. There are 3 yes and 2 no's for sunny. So I think there is a mistake here. It will be 3. It is 2. So 3, 2, and so it will be 3 by 9 for probability yes and 2 by 5 for probability no. And similarly, you can calculate the values for overcast and rainy, and all the probabilities you can calculate. Probability of yes, probability of no will be calculated, and similarly on the in the same method you can calculate temperature, humidity, wind. So we will check for wind. So there are for wind there are 6 yes and 2 no when the answer is false. So let's see quickly. In wind, false is this one: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and yes are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so out of 8, 6 are yes, right? And that's what is written here. 6 are yes and 2 are no. And similarly, you can say because there were total 9 yes, so the probability of yes in a wind is 6 by 9 and no is 2 by 5 when the wind is false. So this is how you have to make the tables. These are the likelihood tables. And using these values, now we will be calculating all the things. So the example, the solution that was asked was that given a rainy, cool, high humidity and windy true, what is the value? So using all these four values, you have to solve the you have to solve it for yes and for no. For yes, you have to pick all the values from the previous tables for yes. Now probability of yes is 9 by 14. Probability of outlook equal to rainy and yes. So outlook of rainy and yes is 3 by 9. So 3 by 9 has been taken from the table at this place. Similarly, all the other values have been filled and you can calculate all the value as 0.07. And similarly for golf, you will be picking all the values from the previous tables and you will get the value as this one. So now because now 0.013 is greater than 0.007, the answer is no. So this is how you have to do the prediction. This is how we have to solve the numerical. It was quite simple. It's just that you have to put some time to solve it. Given these values, you have to calculate the what we say, this prior probability you have to calculate. This is the very easy part. Then you have to very carefully make these tables. If you have done any mistake in this table, then your answer will be wrong. But if you take care of filling all the values correctly, you will be easily making this table, and then you have to just substitute the values considering for both the classes. Here we can see that we have used we have calculated for yes and no, both have been calculated. All the values have been taken from the previous tables, and the final call has been taken based on the answer here, that which number is greater. So whichever number is greater, that will be the answer. So in this case, the answer is no. We will be discussing the naive-Bayes classifier advantages in the next class. And now I am ending the class at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.